Common misconception in getting ready for the PMP exam is thinking that everything happens in the PMBOK order: integration, scope, schedule, cost, quality, resources, communications, risk, procurement, and stakeholder. No. Do not think about the PMBOK guide in that fashion, or you will miss a major concept in the PMBOK guide. First of all, the PMBOK guide is not a methodology. It is not this. It is not a methodology. The PMBOK guide is a framework. You got to think framework. What is the difference between these two? A methodology is a cookie cutter prescriptive: 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, dilute, titrate, do this, do that in a pretty rigid fashion. A framework allows you options of plug and play as you will. You can take something all the way from the back of the process stack and put it in front. You can take something from all the way in the beginning and put it somewhere in the middle. So it is not a prescriptive 1, 2, 3, 4 approach. Frameworks are choose your own adventure. Remember those books back in the day? Choose your own adventure. That is exactly what the PMBOK guide is. It's a choose your own adventure thing. So when you read the PMBOK guide, do not think about it in a prescriptive 1, then 2, then 3, then 4. This is how you need to be thinking about it. Now, at the very start, there's authorization, of course. That's integration, right? Integration has the authorization. So let's call it integration 1, process 1. But when you think of integration process 1, you don't have to do integration process 2 immediately after. You could be looking at resources process 3. In resource process 3, acquire resources, what do you have? Pre-assignment. Pre-assigning team members could happen immediately after authorization. And then, as you begin pre-assignment and you're acquiring people in advance of planning, you could very well move into stakeholder process 1. Or perhaps after integration process 1, you just move straight into stakeholder process 1. Let me tell you a very important thing. On your exam, you are not going to find cookie cutter type questions very much. No cookie cutter questions to that degree. You see, you're going to be given a scenario which could have a number of possibilities in the crafting of the question and in the options. So if you go into the PMP exam thinking that everything in the PMBOK guide is a methodology, you're going to miss it. It is not. There are many possibilities. I could jump from initiating process 1, and I could go straight to initiating process 2 if I'm working on a very small project and these stakeholders that I would identify here are not expected on the project till later, much later. There is no hard and fast rule of the application of the PMBOK guide. That is what I'm trying to point out to you. There should be authorization, yes. But what do you do if there's no authorization on a project? You come in as the project manager, some planning has been done, you should request that a charter be approved. You should. You see, So going into the PMP exam, don't think that everything is going to be as it is in the PMBOK guide. The project charter has been signed. What if it's not signed? What if the stakeholders aren't identified? Do you know the best thing to do next? Reading what has been presented to you in the question. You got to get ready to see things like this. Now, in closing, I want to encourage you to think about the knowledge areas in a less prescriptive fashion. Okay? Think about scope. A senior manager immediately alerts you to a risk in that scope that you identify. The discussion about scope could lead to a discussion about risk, and that in turn could lead back into scope. That discussion about scope and risk could be replaced with an arrow going back and forth between them until you get to a happy medium of understanding and realization about risk and scope trade-offs. However, the discussion would not be complete without taking a look at another factor that you're well aware of, the schedule factor. Scope and schedule are well known for iterations of trade-offs. Schedule and cost are not the only ones that have trade-offs between them. Sometimes we cut off scope because of cost concerns. So there are multiple iterations of decisions and realizations. What about between risk and cost? Multiple iterations. Back and forth we go. Now you take a look at your schedule and it's riddled with risks. Now, putting quality into the mix will definitely open up a can of worms, because you do know that quality is considered to be the quadruple constraint factor in many sectors. So if we put quality at the helm there, your quality concerns will have an impact on the schedule. If you choose to do 100% inspection, for example, not only will that add scope, but it will also add schedule. And if you are looking to adhere to certain quality standards or regulations, you are also going to have interchange between quality and risk. If you're thinking about building a lab to do these thorough tests on this project that you've been commissioned to do, we think about COQ, we think about CBA. Those topics come into play back and forth between these. And these are just a few of the feedback loops. So when you're thinking about this as you're studying for the exam, it is absolutely important that you do not think linear. Do not think linearly, or you could find it very, very challenging when faced with certain situational questions. The PMI in serving the questions have got a bottomless pit of possibilities. I wouldn't be surprised if for every question there are 5, 6, 7 different streams that you could go down. And that's why each time you take the PMP exam, for those who have taken it a number of times, the feedback is always, it seemed new. There were very little repeats, if any. This should be a signal to us not to be cookie cutter in our preparation, not to be cookie cutter in our approach, because if we add procurement and communications, not to mention integration itself, which weaves everything together, and all the other knowledge areas. If you add all the knowledge areas plus stakeholder, what you get is a myriad of possibilities to change. Arrows lead from here to there and back. Endless possibilities. That's why taking the exam is like teaching someone how to fish so that they'll never be hungry on the exam versus giving them the fish. Like these mock exams out there that just feed and regurgitate stuff that's in the guide, they're not very helpful because they're not stretching your imagination. They're not stretching your awareness. So I hope with this, you will begin to think about the PMBOK guide and about the exam in a different way. Remember, if you're getting ready for the PMP exam, you're looking for training, coaching to help you, you might need to be on our tech camps, our boot camps. Go to pmsucceed.com. Check out what we've got going on this week. And also go to Praizion.com. That's where our online self-study program is. You can study on your own, but you can do it with intentionality, with deliberateness, and with structure. Check them out, and I look forward to seeing you. All the very best. Bye for now.